In this tutorial, I will tell you about lists in LaTeX. Here are the topics we will cover. We make lists using list environments. You'll recall that any environment has a begin and an end command, and to specify the type of list, we specify an environment type. Let's begin by discussing bulleted lists. This is a snippet from a document that contains a bulleted list. So we had to use the itemize environment to do that. You'll also note that there's a list that's embedded in a larger list. Finally, I list the fact that we use the begin and end environment to begin and end the list, and to get an individual bulleted item, we use the item command. So let's look at the source code for this. Here are the begin and end commands for the itemize environment that define the list. In lines 7 and 8 and 33 and 34, I put some markers in comments that show up as red, and they guide my eye so I can quickly see where the list begins and ends. Next, I highlight the item commands that I use to define the individual elements. And I've used some different LaTeX commands here. So like in line 11, I use the LaTeX command to get this LaTeX symbol in the text. I also use text TT to get typewriter text. And you can see here in line 28, we have a text backslash and begin environment, and that shows up in the output like this typewriter looking text right here. And then in the middle, unhighlighted, lines 14 through 23, you can see how I define the subordinate list, which is subordinate to the second bullet point. So you see 1, 2 bullet points and then the subordinate list within there. Here's more information on bulleted lists. There's a lot of different types of content that can be subordinate to a bullet item. Anything that follows the item command and happens to be on the same line is part of that bullet item. But if you add a carriage return, you can include other content such as paragraphs, lists of other types, equations and figures and tables, and these can be subordinate to a particular list item. And here's an example of a bullet that has a subordinate paragraph and an equation. And then in the last bullet, you can see there's a paragraph that's subordinate to this bullet, but the list terminates, and then there's text and another equation that follow the list, but they are not subordinate to the list. And you can see this because of the indentation. So those are some basics on bulleted lists, and some of these concepts apply to general lists. To discuss numbered lists, I thought I would actually give you a brief demonstration. So here is my source code. To make a numbered list, I'm going to change the first list that I showed you. So I changed the begin itemize to begin enumerate, and I'm going to copy this enumerate input, and I'm going to move down here. Again, thanks to the nice markers that I put in, I can easily and quickly spot the place where I need to put it. So I have a begin and end enumerate, and now I'm going to compile this. And you can see that in my first list where I had bullets, now I have numbers, and the subordinate list, well, it's still an itemized environment, so it's still a bulleted list, but this time it's the first level, not the second level. And a lot of the same information applies to the numbered list that we discussed about bulleted lists. The final type of list I'd like to talk about is the description. I personally have had little to no use for descriptions, but here's some output for a description environment. Similar to a list of the enumerated type or the bulleted type, you define it using an environment. So here's a begin description and an end description. Again, we use the item command, but notice now the key words are enclosed in brackets. The keywords get bolded here, and then the description follows the keyword, and the descriptions show up in plain text. Here are some upcoming LaTeX tutorials. If you found this to be helpful, please like the video, subscribe to my channel, or share the video or share my channel. Thank you for watching.